we're at the plate, if I can use baseball for an analogy, and we're trying to hit the ball out of the park, but we're not. We're the pitcher, and you just need to have to keep pitching things, and the universe is at the plate, right? And it'll hit it out of the park when you pitch it the right thing, because you're just
Hmm.
letting go. If there is you can't control the hows.
The way we can anticipate things happening is very limited because it's all based on what we,
That's right.
know or what we think we know.
And almost every time you might think of what you want, just let it go, and something better usually comes.
And manifestation, I think, is a phrase that gets thrown around a lot, but if we understand that manifestation is not some special thing that we have to learn how to do, that we're always doing it all the time, then the question is becoming, what are we manifesting? And what is the mechanism at work? And how do we become more intentional about what we prefer to manifest instead of what we don't?
Quantum Souls.
Hello, everyone. Mike Arendt here, founder of Infinite Success Academy and the Soul Mechanic. And today I have a very special guest for you. His name is Ramon Osa, and he's right up your alley. He's an manifester extraordinaire. And let me read you a couple of titles of his videos on YouTube. Manifest instantly, create as you speak. The money frequency, it never fails. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. This guy has got so many videos on there, and you're going to learn so much. And I'm so happy to have him on Quantum Souls podcast today. And please help me welcome Ramon Osa.
Oh, thanks
Hello.
for having me, Mike. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It took us a little while to connect, but we got there.
Yeah, we're here,
Yeah,
here and
yeah,
now.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm down in Panama. You're in California. So the magic of technology has made this possible, which is awesome. And I wanted to just ask you to maybe just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and kind of your backstory, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, right. Well, we might need a few hours and a bottle of wine, but I'll keep it mercifully short. So, I got started on this path, I think just like everybody, kind of wanting to see if there was a way to create more excitement, more passion, more abundance, more love into my life, and came from a pretty dark place. I think, like a lot of people, get to that dark night of the soul, and
Hmm.
was into a lot of shenanigans in my 20s, and eventually saw that that was a surefire way to end up in a place I didn't want to be. And so I started getting into meditation and saw a movie called The Secret, which I know you're familiar with, Mike, and a lot of people
Yes.
might be familiar with. And that sort of opened the door to, what is this law of attraction all about? It sounds good that I can sit and close my eyes and a Ferrari shows up, but that didn't really satisfy my curiosity. I wanted to know how it actually works. Like, what are the mechanics behind it? And so started getting into the work of, Dr. Joe Dispenza and Neville Goddard and Abraham Hicks and all of these amazing teachers. And the more I studied them, the more I found sort of the common threads, and started applying it in my life. And, we went from a two-bedroom apartment here in LA where we weren't even paying the bills, to now we're living in our dream home with a tennis court in the backyard. I'm a tennis coach. And I said, well, if it worked for that, it'd probably work for other things. And met the woman of my dreams, and yada yada yada. So basically, the idea is I wanted to understand the mechanics, and I'm just a natural teacher. I think I came from a family of teachers, and recently my passion has been teaching. Teaching this to people that are looking for answers, and so that's where we are today.
Awesome. I'm right there with you. I went through dark times too and came out of them, um, uh, partially because of the being able to manifest things into my life. And in my former life, I was a millwright and station engineer. So I always wanted to understand how things worked because if I knew how it worked, I could fix it, right? But
Yeah,
if I didn't, if it
absolutely.
was just, just out there, and some people don't really delve enough into it. But for manifesting, you don't really have to know how it works. It's easy to do it even without knowing anything about it. I mean, really, we are creators. Yesterday created our today, and today is creating tomorrow. Whether we like it or not, we are creating our own life. So um, you and I have manifested things that we wanted into our life. And I wonder maybe if you could
And
talk.
plenty,
Yeah,
and plenty that we didn't.
yeah,
But we did
exactly.
it flawlessly.
We certainly did. So I wonder if you could tell folks a little bit about maybe getting into the realm of being able to manifest things into your life, and maybe how you begin, or what you think is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I think you touched on a couple of really important things, Mike. And manifestation, I think, is a phrase that gets thrown around a lot. But if we understand that manifestation is not some special thing that we have to learn how to do, that we're always doing it all the time, then the question is becoming, what are we manifesting? And what is the mechanism at work? And how do we become more intentional about what we prefer to manifest instead of what we don't? And I think for me, it started with the fundamental understanding that everything is energy and everything is about vibration and frequency. And frequency carries information, and our brain is actually transducing information. And there is no actual reality outside of us, it's all happening within us. So if we understand that, then we know that we can tune our receiver, because the brain is a receiver, and to pick up more of what we actually want. I use the analogy of the radio stations and all of these frequencies having different types of music. So you could have your radio tuned to 91.5 in LA and you would get classical, which I love. And then if you tuned the station to 97.1, you'd get jazz. And our life is a reflection of the dominant frequencies and the dominant vibrations that we sort of resonate at. So if we're in the frequency of angry or upset or jealous or any of these sort of negative frequencies, not negative as in bad, but negative as in separating and diminishing and segregating us from what we prefer, then that's what we're going to experience. And we're going to find people and circumstances and things that reflect that back to us in some way or give us a reason to feel more of that. Conversely, if we're attuned to gratitude and of love and curiosity and passion and sort of these elevated emotions that are more integrating, then we're going to be given that reflection. So the idea is to resonate or tune our dials to the frequencies that we prefer. And we do that primarily by what we think and how we feel. And above that, actually, is our belief system. And what we believe to be true dictates everything that comes into our life.
Hmm.
So the reason I always talk about beliefs is because what we feel is so real and so solid is not. It's a belief that we're carrying around. Even if we've thought the same way for years and say, well, that's just the way it is, that's what we believed up to this point is true. And that doesn't have to continue. And so our emotions are this very powerful indicator of what we're attracting into our life. And if we're ever in a negative state, then the question we can always ask ourselves is, what would I have to believe is true about myself in order to feel this way? Because emotions can't exist in a vacuum. They come from the thoughts that we think, which stem from what we believe to be true. And when we start to get into the beliefs, that's when we can start to really make some progress.
Right, exactly. No, once again, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And yeah, I think our beliefs comes partly from our habits, where we do something repeatedly or say something repeatedly, and it becomes habitual. And if you do that often enough, then it changes from a habit to an actual belief. And then we have a belief system. And like you say, if that can work against us as well, right? So yeah,
Mm.
I'm wholeheartedly there with that. And I know my ex, I was in real estate for a while, and I had a coach, and he said, the way you think is the way you feel, the way you feel is the way you act, and the way you act is the results you get in your life. And I've remembered that for many years, and it's so true, right? And we
Can I
are,
say one thing about that, Mike?
yeah,
That
yeah,
there's something that I think that's really important and something that I screwed up for years and decades. And that's this idea of habits.
hmm
And once we understand that we have a habit of doing something, um, it's no longer a habit, it's a choice.
hmm
And we're choosing to buy into certain beliefs. And I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I'm saying I've done this more than anyone
of
probably.
course, yeah,
And so the idea is that if we're choosing something that we objectively don't prefer, then the question is, what are we getting out of continuing to think this way, continuing to behave this way? Because we as humans are motivated in two directions. We'll always go to things that we believe serve us, and we'll always move away from things that we believe don't serve us. And the key word there obviously is belief. So if we're stuck in a habit or of choosing certain things, then the question to ask ourselves is, what are we getting out of this? What are we how are we benefiting from this, or what are we terrified might happen if we let go of that old way of doing things? That's
yes.
another way to frame it. And when we start to dig into that, then we can make some great progress.
Oh, absolutely. And you and I know that sometimes that happens only when we hit rock bottom and have to come back, so you have to actually discover that, well, what I've been doing in my belief systems that I thought were serving me really well haven't. So I haven't got the results I wanted. So maybe I
Or
need
they
to,
served us or they
yeah,
served us really well in letting us to hit rock bottom and
in the
say, "Oh man,
opposite
maybe we better
direction.
go the other way."
That's right. That's right. So, I think you and I, as teachers or conveyors of what we're talking about here, hope that people don't have to hit rock bottom before they can feel they can change, make changes in their lives. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, if a lot of times when I'm making content, I'm thinking about the 20-year-old version of myself that said, if he understood this one thing, this would save him 10 or 15 years of banging his head against the wall.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the great things about today with YouTube and with your podcast, and we can get this information out to people, and I think it can help a lot of people.
Yeah. Because a lot of people just get stuck and don't know which way to go, so it's hopefully we can change some of that. I had one question here that I wanted to ask you. What's something surprising you've learned about yourself since you started your manifesting journey and channel?
I would say that I enjoy discovering negative beliefs that I've been holding on to. It's one of my greatest passions now is
Yeah.
finding out all of the hidden corners, and I still find them every day,
Oh, of course. Yeah.
like ways that I've been just assuming have been true. I grew up in a household of teachers, and my parents loved us very much and provided a very good life for us. Their mindset was always we were never going to be rich. It was just not in the cards. I mean, there was no way you could convince them otherwise. And as a kid, you kind of, just kind of by osmosis, you pick up on those beliefs and how true that felt, how unshakable that belief was up until about, I don't know, 6 years ago, really, before we manifested the house and things started to
hmm
shift. So discovering negative beliefs and limiting beliefs has become one of my greatest passions and one of the things I'm most excited about.
Well, yeah. And that's, you need to try to vanquish them out of our lives if we can, but you need to discover them first, right? And so it's actually a joy when you discover that limiting belief or negative belief, and you go, "Wow, now I can work with this."
Yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't come right away, and sometimes we ask ourselves that question and we say, "What am I buying into that I think is true that's not?" And we think we found it, We
Yep.
think we found it, says, oh, well, it is possible to be rich. Okay, now I got it. I can go about my day. But that wasn't it. Beneath that, it was a deep sense of unworthiness. And I think this hits on probably the number one most important fundamental belief that most people that I work with kind of struggle with in some way, shape, or form.
Of course.
That
Yeah.
for some reason they don't feel worthy of the success, the abundance, of the love, of whatever fill in the blank is. And if we can talk about that for a second,
Hmm.
I think I learned this from Bashar, who's a great teacher, and he said that
Daryl Anka.
yes, yes, and he said that the fact that you exist proves that you're worthy, because if you came from source or all that is or whatever you want to call that,
Hmm.
I don't know about you, Mike, but I tend to not think that they make mistakes or it makes mistakes. We're here for a reason. And so logically, it doesn't make sense for all that is to put us on this planet if it wasn't going to give us everything that we needed in order to become the highest version of ourselves and to explore more and more greater depths of ourselves as a reflection back to all that is, which is using us to gain a greater understanding of all that is.
Hmm.
And so when you meditate on that and you think about it, it makes sense. And as that sinks in, that sense of unworthiness can start to go away. And that opens the door for a lot of amazing things.
Hi, it's just Mike, and we interrupt this regular scheduled programming to bring you a message from our sponsor, Little Old Me. Yes, that's right, I'm the sponsor today, and I want to show you my book. It is two books in one. It is part of a trilogy, and the title is You're the One. The first book is Book 1, An Adventure into Truth, and Book 2 is Souled Out, Souled. And yes, it is an action adventure series with a cast of characters that you'll have to read to find out. And there are spiritual messages hidden within the book that they have to discover. Now, it's the same cast of characters in each story, including the third book of the trilogy, which is about to launch very soon. But they have to find each other again in a different dimension. And of course, they have different names and they have different vocations. And all of that put together to the mystery of solving the mystery of humankind. And you're the one, it's been titled that because you are the one, and I am the one, and we all are the one. So it's an adventure story for you to discover how powerful you can be and who you really are. So get it on Amazon right now, and they've done us a really good one, and we're putting it down to a very low price of $3.99 for the Kindle version on Amazon.com. Of course, you can get it in paperback and hardcover too, but the Kindle version is down to $3.99 on Amazon.com, and I believe it's $5.99 on Amazon.ca. The link is down below in the show notes if you'd like to gift it to yourself or perhaps gift it to a loved one, because who doesn't love a gift of transformation? So the link is down below. Check it out. Check it out on Amazon. And now back to our regular scheduled programming. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I know people sometimes have difficulty with that. We're almost mirroring, back to the universe, so that we can understand, and the universe gets to know more as well, right? So
Yeah.
it's
And another way to phrase that, because some people that I've talked to almost use it as a badge of honor. Like, no, I'm very humble, and so I'm the one out of 7 billion people on the planet that is not worthy of success. And the way he phrases it is kind of funny. He says, "Well, that's one of the most arrogant things that you can say. Like, about the 7 billion people on the planet, you're the one that's not worthy of success. That's just baloney. It just doesn't make sense."
no,
So
absolutely.
I think that's a great thing to understand.
Well, the title of just a plug here. Title of my trilogy of books is called "You're the One," because you're the one, I'm the one, we're all the one. When I believe that we are all came from the same source, and maybe there's only one of us, and we're just split up into little different pieces, and all part of this big tapestry of life, and running into people that we can coincide with, and sometimes they come into our life and they go out of our life quickly, or sometimes they stay all the time. So yeah, exactly. And I think that's you got to hit the nail on the head there for sure.
And I
And
love that title. I love that title. That is brilliant
yeah,
on so
well,
many levels.
I won't talk anymore about the book. That's or the three books actually. But anyway, that's it's to help people find out who they truly are, right, and how powerful they can become.
Right.
And yeah, so that's kind of my goal. But
Love it.
anyway, we'll get back to yours. So what's the favorite thing um, that you do when you or like to do, and what surprised you most when you very first got started? How quickly things went, or
Oh man, I love it all. I think one of the greatest things is, following what you're passionate about. And, 10 years ago, I started a YouTube channel around tennis instruction. And at
right?
first, it was getting over the fear of being in front of the camera and talking to people and worrying about what if people think I'm silly? What if they think I don't know what I'm talking about and all those things. And once that started to go away, then it became a great source of passion. And I just love creating videos. I love connecting with people. And so when people call in for coaching and I get to work with people one on one or one to many,
Hmm.
it's a source of great excitement and passion because there's nothing like being with a group of people that are all going after, the same thing in their own way. So I think those are some of the things, off the top of my head. I have many passions, but those are
Of course, yeah.
two. And sorry, your second question was what surprised me?
Yeah, what surprised you the most once you got going, and I'm assuming that how things really kind of quickly came together for you.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that you don't see the the years of kind of toil and just kind of dancing around things. I started the Creating Through Energy channel on YouTube probably 6 years ago because it was always something I knew I wanted to do. And then, it didn't have a whole lot of traction in the beginning. It was just kind of things that I was putting together, and I'd get excited when I got a subscriber a week, and we're up around 11,000 now, and it's starting to take off. But the
Yeah,
idea
awesome.
was, it was just, it was something that I never thought would become a full-time thing, and we're still doing a lot of things, but it's the yeah, it's just a great source of excitement and passion and to wake up and get to think about, all right, what do I want to help people with today and what do I want to create? And so I guess that would be the thing.
So you're a tennis coach as well as a manifesting coach as well. So do they kind of cross paths sometimes, or
Eh, yeah, it's all the same. It's all the one. Um, I somehow intuitively knew that it wasn't tennis. Tennis is the vehicle. It's the
Sure.
messenger, but it's all about overcoming yourself in some way and finding the next version of you that some layer of conditioning can start to fall away. And tennis is great because you feel the pressure of the moment and it's physically and mentally and spiritually exhausting at times.
Right.
And, you're calling on a greater power basically to come through you. And through the training and through the action that is required to become a good tennis player and to win a tennis match, you uncover parts of yourself that you didn't know you
You
had
did.
access to.
Yeah.
and so it's all the same. I have a great mentor named Lenny Schloss, and he's become a student of manifesting, just like I've become a student of his for tennis.
Oh,
And
very
he says,
nice.
he calls it the universe talk. He says this universe talk is exactly like tennis. Um, and there's fundamentals to it, and if you understand the fundamentals, then you can go out and play and be free and know that everything is going to work out in your favor.
Exactly. That sounds awesome. Do you have any a piece of life advice you'd like to give yourself today? If you, assuming you could talk to yourself today, or maybe
Yeah,
rephrase it as, tell your younger self.
yeah, just follow your passions, and do it as well as you possibly can, but with no attachment to what the outcome is. And I think that was the younger me, was I was doing a lot of stuff because I thought this would lead to some giant payoff in the end. If I meditated, I would become enlightened. If I treated people with dignity and respect, and they would reciprocate. And I think that's a trap because when we start doing things because we think there's something in it for us, then we're placing conditions on that action. And that is not the state of unconditional love that's required to manifest what we truly desire. It's coming from a place of expectancy and insistence and assumption as to what the outcome should be. The truth is, we have no idea what the best possible outcome is. We think we do. We think we've got a good handle on it. Like, oh yeah,
Yes,
I got it. This could happen. And I like to say that the best possible scenario that we can imagine is the least exciting way that the universe can bring it to us. Because there are infinite ways that the universe can bring you what you need. And, if I could just tell myself to keep doing what you're doing, chase your passions, do what you're passionate about, but don't worry about what happens because you can use what happens, whatever happens, in a positive way, if for no other reason to realize what you don't prefer and
exactly.
what you would prefer instead. So I think that would be it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And one of my mentors, Mike Dooley, I don't know if you've heard of Mike Dooley or not, but
Yeah.
yeah, he says, many times we think that we're at the plate, if I can use baseball for an analogy, and we're trying to hit the ball out of the park, but we're not. We're the pitcher, and you just need to have to keep pitching things, and the universe is at the plate, right? And it'll hit it out of the park when you pitch it the right thing, because you're just
Hmm.
letting go. You're just if there is you can't control the hows, right? So uh
Yeah.
it it,
Yeah, I
it
think that's so powerful. I love that for so many reasons. And not knowing the how, I think is the biggest challenge for a lot of people is we want to figure out the plan. And, Dr. Joe Dispenza says that you've got to lay down the very thing you've used to create the success that you've had up to this point in order for something greater to occur. And, the way we can anticipate things happening is very limited because it's all based on what we,
that's right.
know or what we think we know. So I love that.
Yeah, and almost every time you might think of what you want, just let it go, and something better usually comes, right? So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, can you just tell the listeners how they can get a hold of you and learn more about you and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. If you go on YouTube and just type in my name, Ramon Osa, creating through energy, some videos will pop up. And then in every video, we talk about the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind, by definition, is below the conscious mind. And it has to do with the beliefs that we're holding on to that we don't know that we're holding on to. And I created a free program called the Subconscious Reset that people can download. And it's an 11-page document that takes you through a specific structured process that will basically uncover all of the subconscious beliefs that we're holding on to, the negative ones, show you how to move through them and let them go, and then how to program your subconscious mind so that you can be pulled to the future that you prefer.
Yo, awesome. Awesome. Actually, I've downloaded it. I just haven't had time to read it through.
Okay,
So,
cool. Yeah, I'd be
yeah.
curious to hear
No,
what you think.
well, exactly. And I think going through anybody's stuff that, especially like-minded folks, I think it's a great thing. So I want to thank you for being here today on the podcast. And I know what you've talked about today is going to help many of my listeners. And I will link that your YouTube channel into the description so that you can hopefully get some more people watching your channel. So
Thank you.
yes, yes. So thank you very much, Ramon, and we'll end it here and take care, and we'll talk very soon.
My pleasure, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Hello everybody, just me again. If you want to find out who you really are, just look up here. And if you want to find out how to create success in your life and business, look right up here. Take care. Bye for now.